Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to the video. I hope this video finds you well. I want to get straight into it as I always do. But first, please discard my bed. My dog is gonna come soon, actually in a week, and I'm very excited. And I had to lower the bed so he can like jump on it. And then I actually don't have a lot of storage, hence why there's stuff under my bed. But everything else is good, it's clean, it's all situated. But that's besides the point. Let's just get straight to the video, because I feel as though a lot of people don't really have self-worth and respect when it comes to their own personal life. I've had family members and friends state and claim, oh, I know my self-worth. You know, not necessarily saying that, but just kind of expressing it and, you know, complaining about their relationships, their friendships, and then like making excuses for it. And then I tell them, you know, I bring attention to it. I'm like, well, why are you friends with them? Like, don't you have self-worth? Don't you know what you deserve when it comes to a friendship, relationship, or anything like that? And they're like, yeah, I do, like my standards are high. Or they just tell me things and I'm kind of like, well, your standards are not really matching up with the relationship. Your standards are not matching up with, you know, the actions they're doing. So why are you staying? And I just want to touch on that because it's actually happened. It's happened to me before, like in the past, but it wasn't anything deep. However, I've experienced my friend go through, you know, a discovery of self-respect and self-worth, especially when it came to friends and himself. So we actually go way back in high school, and it was kind of like an on and off friendship. We weren't really ever close, nor did we have problems with one another. However, we did get kind of close towards the end of high school, and you know, our friendship kind of grew on from there. However, you know, once people leave high school and they go to different places, you know, they start experimenting when it comes to people, you know, just certain scenes in the world. You know, you're a young adult, you're free to do a lot of things. So that just led to a lot of issues on his part. And he experienced a couple of really bad friendships. He, in a sense, lost his self-respect and self-worth just because he wanted to feel included, just because he didn't feel seen, and he thought that the only way to feel seen was to follow what these group of people were doing. And it wasn't really good. It wasn't beneficial anyway for his career. It wasn't beneficial anyway for his mental health, for, you know, just even living a good, prosperous life. It had no benefit to it, and it's just kind of like, it's interesting to see what people would do in order to achieve what they would think would make them happy. So after we graduated high school, he did graduate a little earlier. After we graduated high school and I left to university and he also left to, I don't even remember what he was doing at the time, but you know, he was just like working, going to school, doing everything he needed to do just to, you know, be on his feet and be self-sufficient. He came across these people because he felt lonely. You know, when all your friends kind of leave and the only way or only interaction you're getting socially is through work, you subconsciously attach to the people you're working with, whether you truly like them as a person or you really don't, and you're just there to like go to work and then go home. But he got attached to the people that he was working with. It wasn't anything crazy, it's just kind of like attached, like, oh, you know, my friends are gone, some of them I don't even like anymore, you know, let me kind of be friends with them. So that my phone literally ran out of storage and I was going off, and I feel like it was getting good until that. And now I'm very upset because I had like a rhythm going and now I just don't have it anymore. But back to the story. Sorry about that. So he just kind of became friends. Why am I laughing? But he basically just kind of became friends with these like I mentioned earlier, the group of people that was just easily available to him, which was mistake number one. Don't become friends with someone just because the timing is convenient and they're easily available. I'd rather have you be alone and upset as compared to be with people that bring you really, really bad energy and that won't bring anything good in your life. Like, don't expect things from people, just, kind of like respect things like that. That's fine, like emotionally, but don't expect people to lend a hand. So, just a little, anyways, but, so he kind of, like I mentioned previously, he just became friends with the people that were, oh my gosh, my English is so bad, that were easily available to him, which, like I said before, mistake number one. Now, continuing his friendship with said people, he kind of fell under these really unhealthy habits. So, just not really doing well to his body and his mind, and just kind of picking up on habits that were really, really detrimental to his mental health, his physical health, and even like his soul. If you've experienced toxic people, you would understand, and you've left that relationship or friendship or whatever it may be, you know how relieving and detoxifying it is once you leave the toxic people. Like, it's kind of just like a whole 180. It's just so relieving, and you feel so much better mentally, soulfully, physically, as compared to when you were hanging out with them, you know what I mean? So he was falling under really unhealthy habits, and especially at such a young age, it's not something that, one would be proud of. And again, this is his story. He gave me permission to share, bring light to the attention, or bring attention to the situation, and kind of shine a light on it. So I'm not speaking ill. He's very, very aware of the video and what I'm saying right now. But, just falling under unhealthy habits, especially just because you're afraid to be alone. He lost his self-worth the second he accepted toxicity over being lonely. And I feel as though a lot of people are afraid to be alone, but there's just so much peace with that. Don't you want to be at peace? I'm not saying the only way to find peace is being alone, but I'm saying I'd rather have you be alone instead of with bad people. And that's kind of self-explanatory. That's kind of common sense, but it happens a lot more often than you would think. It's happened to me. It's happened to my parents. It's happened to my really close friends, even people I look up to. It's happened to everyone. And if it hasn't happened to you, then maybe you're just really, really blessed from day one. But in all honesty, I highly doubt that. We've all encountered really bad people. We've all kind of dropped our standards, like I've done before, like he's done before. We just kind of lost our self-worth, and it's really, really heartbreaking. He lost his self-worth, fell under unhealthy habits, started losing his relationship with friends, with religion, what he believes in, his family. There was, I believe it was 2 years ago, I would say, roughly a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when we were still friends, during this time, and I didn't really say anything about his unhealthy habit. I did, but then I just kind of let him be because he's just very, very stubborn. That's who he is. I'm stubborn as well too, so I understand. But he was just very stubborn and very closed-minded and small-minded during that period of time when he was hanging out with those people. And we would FaceTime a lot, very often, frequent. We would FaceTime, just be friends, as long-distance friends could be. And then one night he shared something with me, and I kept it to myself. I went home for the holiday, and the secret that he shared with me was not only told with me, but it was shared with other people. He had shared it with other people. However, one night when he was not his best self, you know what I mean? He accused me of lying and being a really, really bad friend and cursing me out. This is all over text too. And I literally just landed back home, where I'm from. And he cursed me out over a text message multiple times. Said how I was a really bad friend. Said a lot of hurtful things. And I wasn't upset with the curse words. I was not upset with what he had said. But the one thing I was most upset about was him accusing me of something I did not do. And I told him, I was like, that is so not true. That was out of context. I always tell you the truth. I don't think that there's anything benefit. I don't think it's beneficiary to lie. And he is very, very well aware of that. And he still accused me. And then the next day, I just kind of let it be that night. And then the next day, we texted a little bit, and he still continued to blame me and make himself the victim. When you lose your self-worth, you continuously victimize yourself, which is not okay. You don't take responsibility for the actions you've done, for the consequences that arose. And he always played the victim. He was like, well, it's because of this, it's because of that, like, you were at fault here. And I was like, you know what, with all due respect, because I knew my self-worth, I said, we are done being friends. The only way we're going to be friends again is if you change. And that was that. And we had seen each other during winter break just because I'm, family friends with them and all that fun stuff. But there was still connection in a sense where I had to see him. There was no way of avoiding him. And I was okay with that. I was at peace with that because I know what he did was wrong and how he treated me was awful, and I knew my self-worth. And then he didn't. He lost a really good friend at that time. And then we kind of stopped talking for I would say a couple months up to a year. And then we just recently reconnected, and that is only because he changed. And he discovered his self-worth and realized the respect he deserves. He also had shared with me how he just went through a couple more things after, ending the friendship with me, or after our friendship ended, and he realized stuff with those said friends that he originally decided to, get involved with. And he was just very, very unhappy, very depressed, very sad. And once you lose your sense of self-worth, it's very, like I said and mentioned before, very disheartening. You're lost. You don't know where to go. It's like you kind of need guidance in a sense. So once a person comes into your life, whether that being good or bad, you tend to gravitate towards that because you don't know anything else. And that also just comes with relationships, So romantic or platonic. It even comes with family relationships because you're not standing your ground. You don't know what you deserve. And in all honesty, you deserve the world. You deserve to be treated with respect. But that's only also if you are respectful towards others. Don't expect great treatment when you're not giving good treatment to other people. It's like karma. If you do good, you will get good. If you do bad, you will get bad. He continuously kept doing bad. He did not know his self-worth. He didn't know his self-respect. And he did not have respect for others. And that all came into play because the events that occurred in his life, was shown. Because of, there's also a saying show me who your friends are and I will tell you who you are. And I never really believed that until, I became older and I was doing some self-reflection with my own friends and who I decided to spend my energy with. And I was like, ooh, that saying, show me your friends and then I'll tell you who you are, is so true. And I always, majority of the time, I always see the best in people. I try not to judge people based off of their like financial issues or financial stance, not even issues, financial stance, or religious stance. I really don't care. However, I cannot be friends with them if they don't meet my standards. I can be acquaintances with them. There's nothing wrong with being friendly and cordial with people, but there's a time where you can be friends and knowing when to waste your energy on them. And like going back to my friend, I don't know what I'm like talking as if this is so serious. It's just like I mentioned before, very disheartening to see people put themselves in terrible situations and self-sabotage and then complain. And I'm like, well, you just don't have self-respect. You don't have self-worth. You don't know what you deserve, whether it's because you weren't given it before or you are just continuing to repeat the cycle. And in order to get something great out of it, you have to break the cycle. And stepping out is like one of the hardest parts. Actually, not even stepping out is the hardest part. Thinking about doing it and coming up with a plan on how to exit, the relationship or exit the crisis or situation is the hardest part. It's kind of like also taking the first step. The first step is the hardest part when you're trying to start something new, because from then on you have to continue that cycle. And when you're trying to break that cycle, the hardest part is trying to stop it and then be done with it, But after some period of time and my friend losing a couple of important people in his life, when everything was happening, he started doing some self-reflection and started discovering himself a little more, and just finding himself through religion and really connecting with who he is and God, because he believes in God. And he realized what he deserves. He realized that these friends that he was friends with, the friends he was friends with, the people he hung out with were not benefiting him in any way. And he realized, he was like, oh my gosh, ever since I've been friends with them, life has not been great. And it wasn't even like a 3-month relationship. It was long. It was ongoing. And he just felt really upset and he didn't know how to get out. And then, with the power of God and him praying and doing what he needed to do, I'm not trying to make this religious in any sense, but doing what he needed to do and finding his self-worth and putting his foot down, he became happier. It was hard for him to go through the process of removing those toxic people out of his life. It wasn't easy. And honestly, it wasn't even like a day thing. It was like an ongoing process, and then dropping one person and then being okay for a couple days and that person reaching out or something happens and yada yada yada. And then after that relationship kind of ended, he had to drop the other person from the friend group and he had to continue to focus on himself. And then other problems arose as well. But he just did not give up, and he was like, I know what I deserve. I know that I deserve self-respect and I deserve XYZ. And he stood up for himself. He found his self-worth. And from what I've noticed with myself and other people that I've talked to about self-worth, they have all said it wasn't like an ongoing process. It was kind of like a switch has flipped. You know what I mean? They realized what was happening in their life and how detrimental things were, but once they wanted to make the change, it was kind of like a done deal type of thing, and they put their foot down and then they cut it off. And I've also noticed that as well, just with certain things and knowing my self-worth, whether it comes to something romantic or something platonic, I kind of immediately, I'm like, no, I know how I am. I know what I deserve, who I deserve, how I live my life. I know my self-worth. And it's kind of just done deal, type of thing. The second they treat me wrong, bye. I don't really have time to waste. I don't want to waste my energy just because it's not worth it at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And just really knowing your self-worth is something. I don't even know. I feel like this turned into a story time. It wasn't even a lesson. But what I'm trying to say is find your self-worth. really do a lot of reflection, because at the end of the day, that is really what it is. Are you really happy with your life? Are you really happy with your friend group? And if you're kind of like, yeah, I'm really happy, you know, like I'm thankful for where I'm at, and you should always be thankful for where you're at, you know, whether it's a good stage in life or a bad stage in life, you know, it's always a lesson to learn and a lesson to be learned. But really think about the future. Are these the type of friends you want to be with after you graduate high school? After you graduate college? Are these the type of friends you want to be with when you have that job, your dream job? You know, once you're traveling, or once you know, settle into a different state or wherever you're at, are these the friends you want to continue to have in your life? And you're like, well, I do see a future with them, you know. Whether, again, friends or not, if you think, oh, well, you know, I kind of do see a future with them. Do you really? Are your guys' lifestyle going to be similar? They don't have to be the same, not at all. Like my friend and I, we have two totally different ideas of how we want to live lives, you know, dreams, but we will make it work, you know what I mean? And we have like ideas and plans of what we want to do in the future when it comes to our friendship. And that goes for my other friends too. I have one that's like in the military, one that's still, like two of them that still are in the state that, you know, I'm from. But just really think about if you want these people in your life for the long run. Because if you really don't, you're like, well, I see myself getting here in life, and their idea of happiness is just different than mine, or their idea of success is different than mine, or like vastly different, to where you guys can't cooperate, you know what I mean? And, you know, then it's not worth it. Do self-reflection, discover your self-worth. And how do you do that? Really reflect. I just keep saying self-reflection because that's just the main like thing. Really take a step back and look at your life now. And would your higher self be happy with where you're at? You know, really, really think about it. That toxic relationship. Is future Bianca going to be happy with how I'm being treated? Or even if you can't envision yourself in a future sense, envision yourself as a little kid. No? Is little Bianca happy that I have like crappy friends? I don't, thankfully. But is she happy that I'm being treated with disrespect? You know? Like, why am I always sad? Like, that just hurts. I cannot imagine little Bianca, like my little foop self, looking up to me and just seeing where I'm at now, you know, if I was in a toxic situation. I remember when I was like in high school and I was 14, I'm like, wow, I can't wait to see how I am when I'm like 20 years old, or when I'm in college, or when I'm like 21, like how I'm gonna be, who my partner is gonna be, and how my friends, and la 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 la. And just think back to the days when you were younger, you know, because I know all of us daydreamed, you know, all of us envisioned of what we'd be like when we're older and in college or working and being with a significant other and having great friends and having that lifestyle. But would your younger self be proud of where you're at now? And if not, change that. Gain that self-respect. Gain that self-worth, you know. Like I said, it's gonna, to me personally, it's been like a flip, like a, what's it called, like a light switch. And it just kind of, it went from 0 to 100, and I was like, wow. Like I have to make a change now, because if I don't make a change now, the cycle is going to continue. If you don't take action to something that is in your control, the cycle will always continue. So just think about that. I hope you guys enjoy. I feel like it was more a story time rather than advice, because I always say self-reflect, you know, I did self-reflection, but I definitely had my time of when I did self-reflection, and I genuinely do self-reflection when I go to bed. I'm like, okay, how am I? Did I live a good day? You know, I'm very, very happy, thankful, blessed, not stressed, because I'm alive and I have everything I have, you know, I'm very, very thankful. But just take the time, sit down and be honest. Honesty will get you far in life. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will see you all soon.